Welcome into Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, the Phillies have split their doubleheader with the Washington Nationals, but still have a chance to win the series if they win the next two. The offense and Trey Turner both look like they might have finally woken up. And is the six-man rotation the way to go, or should the Phillies send one of the guys to the bullpen? All of that on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for checking us out. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing where you consume podcasts, subscribing to the YouTube if you're checking out us out on YouTube. If you haven't checked out YouTube yet, you should go ahead and check out the video component of this. Definitely the best way to consume Locked On Phillies, in my opinion. And if you're waiting to subscribe, I don't know what you're waiting for. We're into the playoff push here for the Philadelphia Phillies, so you're going to want to get updated when new episodes of Locked On Phillies get posted. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB, and you'll get a free white tech hat with any order. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We absolutely promise you. Now, let's jump into the doubleheader yesterday that the Philadelphia Phillies played against the Washington Nationals. Unfortunately, a split for the Philadelphia Phillies. They had an opportunity to win game two, but just couldn't come through at the end there. Joey Meneses with two late home runs to sink the Phillies. Let's jump into kind of how it happened and what exactly went right and wrong for the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday. Now, it was not a day-night doubleheader. It was one of those weird 4:05 p.m. game start, and then we'll get to it after. So they didn't finish up until, I don't know, probably about 10:45 p.m. Long day at the yard for the Philadelphia Phillies, and it'll be nice to only have one today. I'm sure the Phillies slept well last night, considering how tired they would have been from a long day at the yard. But game one started off like the Phillies were in trouble. Zach Wheeler gave up 3 runs. He gave a Ruiz homer in the second, a Lane Thomas homer in the third, and all of a sudden it's 3-0. But then Kyle Schwarber struck, right? Schwarber had a great first game. It started with a 2-run home run to right field, scoring Yohan Rojas in the third inning. And then Alec Bohm followed that up. They went back-to-back in the third to tie it up at 3. You're like, okay, feeling good. And then in the fourth inning, Kyle Schwarber gets up again because a couple base runners get on, and he hits a mammoth 447-foot shot. I mean, absolute nuke going off the bat. Unbelievable swing by Kyle Schwarber. The Phillies get put up 6-3 on that one, and Zach Wheeler settles in a little bit after struggling early, and the Phillies end up being fine. Jay Cave then hit a 2-run homer to center field. Didn't think he got all of it, but the wind was kind of weird yesterday at the yard. It was like pushing the ball all over the place. And his got out, so it was 8-3, and you're like, okay, yeah, this one's over. The Nationals don't have enough firepower to bring it back. Ruiz had an RBI single to follow up that home run he had in the second. He had the single in the 8th, but it would finish 8-4. The Phillies took care of business. You're like, okay, good fight from the boys. The continued trend of getting down early, but then battling back, the starting pitching stabilizing, and the offense coming through in the middle to late innings. I mean, that's textbook Philadelphia Phillies baseball right about now. I wish they were jumping up on teams early, and I wish the starting pitching wasn't causing problems that you had to dig your way out of early on in the games, but you can't argue with the win. Zach Wheeler didn't have his best stuff, so we'll see what he does next time, but he's got kind of a rough history against the Washington Nationals as of late. Maybe it's just his opponent. Maybe they see something with him that they really like. I don't know what it is with Zach Wheeler. All I know is he ended up getting the win in the game. He gave you a quality start. He settled down. Everything was all good after a rough first couple of innings. So, yeah, good work in game one. Game two, Ranger Suarez took the mound. And the Phillies actually started off with a lead. Trey Turner had an RBI double to center field. Turner had 1 hit in game one. He had 2 hits in game two, including a single that then led to him stealing second base in the 5th inning that led to an RBI single from Bryson Stott on a play that a lot of players wouldn't have scored on. Trey Turner scores easily with one of those cool slides. Like, Trey Turner's coming out of it, I think. We'll talk more about that coming up and what's going on there. But, yeah, the Nationals got 2 back in the 4th off of another home run, this one by Vargas. Then Harper homered is 3-2, and Stott singlets 4-2, and then Joey Meneses hits a 2-run home run in the seventh, 4-4. A very back and forth game in this one. And then Joey Meneses homers off Craig Kimbrell in the ninth to make it 5-4. And would I have loved to see Craig Kimbrell get out of that? Yes. Not a save situation, so not technically a blown save or anything. He was saddled with the loss for the game because the Phillies didn't score in the bottom of the ninth. Just, I don't know. It was one of those games. The offense didn't do enough. The pitching wasn't tight enough. Craig Kimbrell gives up a home run. Jeff Hoffman gives up a home run. I mean, the Nationals battle. That's why it's hard to sweep doubleheaders. The Phillies played I don't know. So they played 18 innings yesterday. And I think they played 15 innings of winning baseball, but those 3 innings are ones that can sink you. And it happened to be the 2 of them came in the last 2 innings or last 3 innings of the last game. That 7th inning and 9th inning just weren't good enough for the Philadelphia Phillies to come away with the win. That's why doubleheaders are tough, man. And that's why I was talked about in yesterday's episode why the doubleheader could be a hindrance and a help for the Philadelphia Phillies. But I do think it shows you that their bats are hot. They really, really have started to figure stuff out. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up as we preview today's game. But I'm just going to look at the standings here following that doubleheader for the wild card. The Phillies now sit with a record of 62-52. That's still dead even with the San Francisco Giants. 544 win percentage. Now, San Francisco, remember, they have the tiebreaker. They swept you in the head-to-head series. But the Phillies and the Giants are 3 games up on the Cubs and the Reds, who are tied for the final wild card spot. So you've got yourself a little bit of a cushion. You keep building on that. 2 more games against the Nationals, 3 against the Twins this weekend. You got yourself some time to really kind of settle in against some bad teams and continue to keep everything going. The run differential is going up for the Philadelphia Phillies. They're now plus 21. So that's slowly creeping up, which run differential I think is a good sign of who are the teams that are winning and who are the teams that are winning by a lot. And there's a clear difference in that. And some of the top teams, I mean, for example, the Phillies have a run differential of 21, and the Chicago Cubs have a run differential of 67. I mean, that's a good team. They're smoking teams. That, to me, says they're better than the Reds, who have a minus 27 run differential. But when I'm just looking at the wild card standings, when you look at the standings in general, I mean, listen to this. Atlanta's run differential, plus 164. That's incredible. Texas Rangers, plus 177. So, there are levels to this, as a famous rapper once said. There are levels to this, and the Philadelphia Phillies are kind of in that mid-tier right now, but that mid-tier has them tied for the top wildcard spot, so you'll absolutely take it, especially 2 more games against the Washington Nationals, who are yet to hit the 50-win mark on the season, and the Phillies have already hit that 62-win mark. And don't look now, but the Braves have gone on a little bit of a skid, and they're 10.5 games up, which seems insurmountable at this point of the year, but hey, maybe the Phils go on a run the rest of the week and the Braves continue their skid, and it gets interesting. They're only 9 games back in the win column. 62 wins for the Phillies, 71 for the Braves. Who's to say that you can't make that a little bit interesting? And if you try and keep pace with the Braves, no doubt you're going to be a wild card team. It means you won't catch the Braves. You'd have to have better pace than them to get there. But still, you give yourself a good opportunity there. So the Phillies, I feel good about. I felt good about that day yesterday, even though you split the doubleheader. I saw good things in both games, and I saw a lot from the offense. I saw basically what I expected and hoped I would see outside of a second win. But that's okay. You can't win them all. Now, you got to go out and you got to take care of business today, and we'll talk about that game coming up and why I think the offense is poised to have a really big night tonight at Citizens Bank Park. Just to let you know what time it is, Phillies are going to take on the Nationals tonight. First pitch is at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast of that game on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies. I think the Phillies have got a really good look at the game tonight, and we will discuss exactly why coming up next as we continue Locked On Phillies. First, though, let me tell you about my friends over at Bird Dogs. Now, Bird Dogs, there's so much good to say about them. They just sent out a new care package, got a new pair of shorts, which I love. The kind of it's not gradient, but they have like a white liner, and then the shorts are like navy blue, super comfortable, just like the other pair. And they sent out a pair of their pants, which I had just gotten shorts to this point. I got like the nicer dress shorts type look, 2 pairs of athletic shorts, and now a pair of like athletic pants. And those things are absolutely awesome. So comfortable. It's not quite cold enough to be wearing them yet. I mean, it's still a little hot out for pants in my opinion, but As soon as the weather breaks, I'm going to be wearing those every day. They've got the built-in liners, so you could just go ahead and go commando, as you say, in them, and still feel very comfortable. Everything's held into place, but not squeezed and restricted. It's so great, and they look great too. Like such quality material, such comfortable material. It looks fire when you wear them. I mean, people immediately notice the difference between when I'm wearing regular athletic shorts and when I'm wearing bird dogs. They fit way better. They look way better. They make your legs look better because the fit is just like it contours through your body. It's absolutely great. I love bird dogs. I love the new hat they gave. The white tech hat is beautiful. I might wear it for a golf round tomorrow, but I'm definitely going to wear it to like work out, to go for a run, stuff like that. Nice, good athletic hat. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about bird dogs. Listen to some of the stuff that they have that they infuse. I mean, they got cloud knit fabric. It looks just like a nice material like khaki, but it fits just so much more comfortable. It stretches, so you don't have to worry about being restricted. They use anti-stink sweat wicking fabric, keeps you cool and dry all day long. I mean, they put so much technology into these shorts, and it looks great. I love everything about bird dogs, and I've already worn the shorts twice. Don't tell anybody, but I wore them twice without washing them because one time I just wore them out to the bar and walked back, didn't get sweaty. The next day I wore them all day. Yeah, I can't get enough of bird dogs. I promise you. You're not going to regret going ahead and throwing some money at them because you're getting more than your money's worth when you order a pair of bird dogs. So go ahead and check them out. And you go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb or enter promo code LockedOnMLB. You'll get that free white tech hat I've told you about with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedonmlb or promo code LockedOnMLB for a free white tech hat. You're not going to want to take your bird dogs off. Absolutely. I promise you. All right, let's talk Phillies Nationals game 3 of the series. Again, 6:40 p.m. first pitch, Eastern Standard Time at Citizens Bank Park. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast of that game on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies. That's how you say that. I always get tongue twisted on that. I don't know what it is, but I always get tripped up when I try and say SXM. But go ahead and use them to check out the game. Good partners over at Sirius. Best way to listen to the game if you're on the go. And we have Michael Lorenzen making a start tonight against Mackenzie Gore. An interesting pitching matchup with Lorenzen making his second start for the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, if you remember, he went 8 innings in his debut, 8 full innings, 2 earned, I believe he had. Just a great debut versus the Miami Marlins down there in Miami. And now he'll make his Citizens Bank Park debut. Sure to be raucous applause for Michael Lorenzen, considering what he did in his last time out. Mackenzie Gore has been having a solid year, I guess you would say, for Nationals pitching standards. He's got a 6-8 record with a 4.34 ERA, a 1.42 WHIP, and 112 innings pitched. He struck out 129 in those 112, though. Definitely a strikeout pitcher and a lefty. So I'm sure we're going to see some interesting lineup from Rob Thompson because he likes the righty-lefty matchup. So we'll see how that all plays up. But he does have 49 walks in those 112 innings. So about a walk almost every other inning, maybe a little bit less than that, and 18 home runs. Lorenzen, by comparison, has thrown 1.2 more innings than Mackenzie Gore, and he has 21 less walks and 6 less home runs given up. But he has 88 strikeouts to 129 strikeouts. Like, Lorenzen's a contact pitcher. Mackenzie Gore is a guy that's got good stuff, that's going to throw breaking stuff to try and get you to swing out of the strike zone, and he's going to get strikeouts because of it. So the Phillies need to be very patient at the plate. Strong approach, lefty. Let him work a little bit. Kind of weird. He wears number 1. I don't like that a pitcher wears number 1. That just bothers me a little bit. But, hey, that's fine. He can wear whatever number he wants as long as the Phillies find a way to win. But, yes, Mackenzie Gore is going to be a bit of a tough task for the Philadelphia Phillies today. Tougher than the guys they saw in the doubleheader yesterday. But they scored 4 runs and 8 runs, respectively, in the doubleheader games yesterday. I guess that's not respectively. I guess it's going backwards. But, yeah, I think the offense has finally woken up. Kyle Schwarber, 2 home runs. Great work by him. Trey Turner, 3 hits. Great work by him. I mean, it was just a nice day. Alec Boehm showing some pop and a little bit of power with that home run in game 1. Bryce Harper hitting an absolute nuke in game 2. Like, the Phillies offense is starting to turn into the team that we thought that they could be. JT Realmuto and Nick Castellanos need to be a little bit louder than they were yesterday. And the bottom of the lineup is going to be iffy until you get Brandon Marsh back out there with Rojas and Cave. Like, you still got to see if those guys are capable of hitting major league pitching consistently. Jake Cave, a little bit more of a track record there because he's played with other teams in baseball before. Rojas, still a young player. So we'll go ahead and see. And I talked about it in yesterday's episode, what's going on with the Brandon Marsh injury and his fielding ability and stuff like that. While I do think he's a solid fielder and a much better offensive player than Rojas or Cave, it'll be a good opportunity for Rojas and Cave to show what they've got. And Christian Pache, when he comes back, I told you I promised I'd do a little bit of digging on Christian Pache, and looks like he's starting a rehab start now down in the minors. So hopefully he'll be back in maybe like a week or two. Hopefully under 2 weeks, you'll be able to get him back and add him to the outfield rotation. Jose Alvarado held off on his rehab because he has like some numbness in his fingers, but they don't think it's elbow related, which is good news. So he'll just take a couple days and then get back after it. He's still got some time before he's back, but these guys we're starting to hear whispers of them progressing towards returning to the Philadelphia Phillies. So that's good news. You can get them back and healthy by the end of the month and then just add Brandon Marsh down the stretch. And hopefully everyone stays healthy. You make a September push. Everyone's hot and healthy going into the postseason, and time frame works out. And something that keeps players healthy is something that I'm going to talk about coming up with a 6-man rotation. It keeps pitchers rested, but not everyone loves it. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. But the Phillies, just to go through the percentages of their overall chance to win, they're minus 190 favorites on the money line, which strong favorites in this game. They're definitely favored. They've got a 62.8% chance to win, according to ESPN Analytics, which is a strong favoring compared to what you normally see on there. Anything above like 55% is pretty sizable when it comes to this. It means the ESPN Analytics feels pretty good. I think more often than not, you're going to see like 55-45 or something less than that. Something over 60% says, yeah, the Phillies are heavily favored in this one. They're playing good baseball. They're playing a team that's lesser than them. You're playing at home. You should be able to take care of business. Go out there and win today, because if you lose today, you run the risk of facing an opportunity to lose the series if you lose on Thursday. Win today, and you've already guaranteed yourself a split, and you can now focus entirely on going out there and winning 3 out of 4 from the Nationals, and that would make it 5 out of 7 games that you would have won between the Royal Series and the National Series. And that's what I said I was comfortable with, 5 out of 7. That would be the base level expectation. So in order to get there, you got to win the next 2. And you can't win the next 2 if you don't win the one tonight. So, yes, go ahead and take care of business. And I do think that the Phillies have a good chance to do so today. By the way, why I'm not wearing the victory shirt? Well, I go off of the most recent game. So they won game 1, lost game 2. So we're going off of a loss, unfortunately. But the victory shirt not worn today for that reason, in case you were wondering. One more time, I just want to let you know, Phillies Nationals, 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast of that game on the SiriusXM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you'll be able to pull everything up there. Now, coming up, we're going to wrap up by talking quickly about the 6-man rotation and why I think it's super beneficial for the Phillies this time of year. We'll discuss that as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at Sleeper, okay? Do you think Bryce Harper can follow up his performance yesterday with another home run tonight? He started to show some of his power coming back. He hits a bunch of them against the Nationals. He's facing Mackenzie Gore. It's lefty-lefty. So guess what? You might actually get some good numbers on that, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But I think Bryce Harper's pretty darn good. And who are some of the righties that need to pick it up? Does Trey Turner have a righty-lefty home run in him facing Mackenzie Gore? Maybe. Well, I sure think that someone for the Phillies is going to go yard tonight. The long ball's been flying at Citizens Bank Park this series. And on Sleeper, you can swing for the fences with up to 100 times payouts. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players that you like and select more or less on their stat categories like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. You get your picks right, and you could win big. It's super easy to use the interface on the app. You just go ahead and tap in the player, you tap in the stat, you tap in whether you think they're going to get more or less than that, and you can win. It's that easy. You can add up to 8 players. That's a lot of money coming back your way from a daily fantasy app. You don't normally see that type of payout from these type of apps, but Sleeper's got you set for that. And dynamic payouts are now live, which is what I was telling you about with Bryce Harper. Okay, lefty-lefty. Normally, Bryce Harper, you'd probably be like, I don't know, not expected to hit a home run, but it's more likely he hits one off a righty than a lefty. but he's facing a lefty, so you might see a dynamic payout. So what dynamic payouts through Sleeper are is each player projection now has a multiplier attached to it, as opposed to preset multipliers based on the number of legs in a contest. So before, you have 8 players, 8 legs of the contest, you get a certain amount of payout based on that. But with this one, you might only have 2 legs, and one's just like super improbable. And you could go ahead and say, okay, well, I'm going to do that, take my chance, and maybe make my money that way. Dynamic payouts allow you to do that. So they come with more stat categories to place contests on, and you can get higher payouts than other apps with less picks. So go ahead, download the Sleeper app, use promo code Locked On, and you're going to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. Go ahead and see Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. So check out Sleeper today. All right, let's talk 6-man rotation just real quick here, because I think this is generally something that most people agree with. But I had this argument on air this morning on 97.5 The Fanatic on the John Kincaid show. And John Kincaid was opposed to the 6-man rotation because he felt that in a week coming up where there's 2 off days, there's too much rest for pitchers. And I think this time of the year, there's not really such a thing as too much rest. As long as you're not sitting for the entirety of a week, like 8 days rest or more, like missing Sunday to Sunday, that would be too much. But remember, the Phillies shut down Zach Wheeler for the entirety of the last month of the season last year, and he ended up coming back and being fine in the postseason. Now, that was because of injury. I'm not saying it's good to do that to healthy guys who want to pitch, but the other thing is, if you're not going to go 6-man rotation, you got to put one of these guys in the pen. And I'm going to run you through the Phillies thinking. This is not my thinking, though I do subscribe to some of it, but this is how the Phillies think. Is Christopher Sanchez going to the pen? He's the youngest, least experienced pitcher, but his numbers are incredible. I want him making starts for this team. Is Michael Lorenzen going to the pen? He's been a reliever multiple times in his career. He just went 8 innings in his debut, and you traded for him at the trade deadline to add to this starting rotation. He's starting today. He's not going to the pen. You have Ranger Suarez. Struggled recently, showed some ability in the pen last year in the postseason, but he's too talented of a pitcher. He was one of my top 3 guys coming into the season. He's not going to the pen. Taijuan Walker is an innings eater. Even though he struggles early in some starts, the guy he gets to 7 innings, 6 innings, sometimes 8 innings, just does it, no problem. He's a big body, strong pitcher whose body can hold up with pitching. I'm keeping him in the rotation. There are 2 guys that I would consider. Zach Wheeler, if his velocity begins to drop, could go and take some time off. Aaron Nola, I wouldn't mind seeing him miss a start, but the Phillies are not going to do that with either of those guys. Aaron Nola is really the only candidate whose performance says he should skip a start. And the Phillies aren't going to do that because, 1, he has such a high ceiling talent-wise, and 2, they don't want to mentally break him, being that he was their opening day starter this year. I mean, to go from opening day starter to skipping a start is a tough thing mentally to go through, and clearly he's battling with it mentally here this year in a contract year, not performing. So 6-man rotation is the only way right now, and I think that it's beneficial because the more rest you get these guys' arms, the more they're going to be able to push through this time of year where they might start feeling fatigued because of a long season last year and a battle to get through the start of the year with Bailey Falter not working out and Andrew Painter going down and Ranger Suarez missing time. You need to give these guys as much rest as you can get without getting them rusty, and I think the 6-man rotation is perfect. So this coming week, they're going to get more rest than normal, but they just went through a 17-game and 17-day stretch where you didn't get much rest at all. So, yes, I think this is a good thing for the Philadelphia Phillies, and I'm sticking with the 6-man rotation as long as I can until probably about the second week of September, and that's when you have to start making decisions on who goes where, depending on where you're at in the standings and who's throwing well. So we'll get there, but for now, it's 6-man rotation as planned when they acquired Lorenzen, and hopefully he'll go out and make a great start tonight in his home debut for the Philadelphia Phillies. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that good stuff. Tomorrow's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about today's game and have a discussion about, who's the most important stretch run? What team is the most important stretch run for the Philadelphia Phillies to focus on as far as their opposition in the wild card? Is it the Giants? And is there a showdown with Gabe Kapler looming? Well, we'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode, but that's all for today. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.